Long ago, in the kingdom of Latium, the good king Numitor, known for his wisdom and generosity, was dethroned by his evil brother, Prince Amulius. At the same time, Amulius banished Numitor's daughter, the beautiful Princess Sylvia, to the temple of Mars, the god of war. There, thought Amulius, she would never have sons who might reclaim the throne. But his plan didn't work as expected, for Sylvia married Mars, and somewhat later, the couple had twin sons, whom they named Romulus and Remus. It did not take long for news of the twins' birth to reach Amulius, who immediately ordered 2 of his servants to kidnap the newborns and drown them in the Tiber River. That very night, the 2 men crept into the room where the twins lay sleeping, and once there, began to carry out their terrible mission. The next morning, the servants reported to Amulius that Romulus and Remus were dead. But in fact, they were not. The twins' cradle bobbed and dipped like a tiny boat in the rushing waters, but it did not overturn as expected, nor did it sink. Instead, the cradle eventually came to rest in a clump of rushes. After a while, the babies awakened and began to cry from cold and hunger. Now, as it happened, a she-wolf was nearby that morning and heard the newborns cry. She was curious and went to investigate. The animal was puzzled by these tiny humans, but she sensed their despair, and although she feared people, her motherly instincts overcame her, and she carried the 2 youngsters to her cave, where she reared them as her own. As the months passed, Romulus and Remus grew strong and healthy, and in time they began to venture out farther and farther from their cave. One day, a shepherd named Faustulus noticed the boys as they chased each other down a path. The shepherd was struck by their curious clothing and their wolf-like gait. He followed them to their cave, and was, to say the very least, astonished at what he saw. Now Faustulus and his wife were childless, so later that night, while the wolves slept, he came to take the youngsters to his home. For many years, Faustulus and his wife took care of the twins as if they were their own sons, although at first the boys found it difficult to eat as humans. In time, Romulus and Remus grew strong and handsome. Even so, they never completely lost all their wild, wolf-like ways. They helped Faustulus with his herding, and when they weren't in the pastures, the twins took to ambushing thieves who had stolen livestock and food. Then they returned the stolen goods to their rightful owners. Over the years, stories of the twins' brave deeds spread far and wide, until, one day, reports of their exploits reached their grandfather Numitor, who, banished to the far northern reaches of the kingdom, had led a lonely life for many years. The old man wanted to meet the brave young heroes, and so he asked his guards to find the twins and bring them back. As soon as he saw them, Numitor was struck by their resemblance to his daughter Sylvia. And when Romulus and Remus told him their story, he realized what had happened.
You are my grandsons. My daughter, the Princess Sylvia, is your mother. Your wicked Uncle Amulius tried to kill you and has stolen your birthright. Now that you know these things, you must take the throne for me so that one day it can be yours.
When the 2 brothers returned home, they began to plan how they would accomplish this task. First, they decided to recruit as soldiers all whom they had helped over the years. Then, their army would attack Amulius and his forces as they slept. Finally, they would take their army to the Temple of Mars to rescue their mother. And because Romulus and Remus were cunning and brave, their plan worked. Sylvia returned to the castle, and Numitor regained his throne. To commemorate their victory, the twins decided to build a great city on the banks of the Tiber River, where the she-wolf had found them. Romulus designed the streets and houses, Remus the temples and baths. And, in time, a magnificent city blanketed the 7 hills that stood near the river. But what was it to be called? Remus said it should be called Rem, because he had designed the temples. Romulus wanted the city to be named Rome, because he had designed the houses. And because both brothers retained the wildness of their early upbringing, they began to fight savagely. So savagely, in fact, that the fight ended only when Remus lay dead. And so, Rome was given its name. In time, Romulus became king of the city named after him, and ruled wisely and compassionately for many years. Because he had done so many good and noble things, the gods looked favorably upon him. And so, when he died, he was taken to where the gods dwelled. From that time on, he was called Quirinus, and became a noble god of war.